So our chapter is laws of motion. We can also call Newton's laws of motion also here. Okay. Now, so basically, we will be dealing with three Newton's laws here. Before going to that, before going into this chapter, we will be interacting with so many things in general, right? Suppose if we are speaking about wind, so whatever wind we are feeling, so all that will be interacted with different different things around us, right? So the wind will be interacting with the windows, and it will be interacting with us, it will be interacting with the things which we have, right? In the same way, we will be interacting, our human beings also interacting with some other things, and animals also will interact with the things, different things. But so only the difference between the other interactions and with us, the difference between other interactions and with the human interactions, there is a slight difference. They will be interacting, but here we will interact as well as we will be analyzing them. So what is happening there, we will have a curiosity that we will try to analyze them. And basically we will get two curious questions in general: how things are moving, how things are moving. Next one, why things are moving, why things are moving, right? So we are having general query if we make. So we will have these basic questions: how things are moving, why things are moving. So of course, so many attempts are made to analyze this. Of course, we will be clearly getting answer for these two in this chapter. Okay, and 2,500 years back itself, Greek scientist. So they said force is responsible for motion. If we put some effort on some object, it will be in motion. Just they gave some vague statement. So we don't have some clear clear analysis on this. We just they gave some statement. But in science, no, we need proofs. Then only we will say that the particular thing is correct, right? So they have some statements after so many hundreds of years. Then they come up with some different ideology, different theories have come, and we have come up with some exact proof on that. Okay, so that is about some introductory part, what we have need to know in this chapter, right? So we need to know about what is force, and so the same vague statement is there: force, if it is applied, objects will move. What exactly happens on that, what exactly the force are, we need to know. And why things are moving, how things are moving also we need to know, right? Next, in this, before going into this, different scientists contributed differently. So whatever Galileo contributed, that we had seen already in class 9 level. And for our reduced syllabus, recently we our syllabus got reduced, no? In that, Newton's three Newton's laws are not there. Newton's first law, Newton's second law, Newton's third law is not there. But without those, we cannot go into the chapter. We cannot understand further things clearly. So that's the reason we will understand what is mean by these Newton's laws. Then we will go into our chapter in detail. Okay. So we will have notes also for these Newton's laws, and then further we will be continuing. Okay. Now, so in this, so in laws of motion or Newton's laws of motion, first and foremost thing what we discuss here is, already we have come across this once again. We will go with this. Previously also, before starting of mechanics also, I mentioned about this. So you will come to know. So this we had point mass. Okay. So point mass is what? An entity, a small entity which has zero dimensions. Okay, so mathematically if we are speaking, which has zero dimensions, and which has a finite mass, which has finite mass, so that can be considered as point mass. But So if we consider all such point masses, can we apply all the theorems, whatever we have for such a small entity? It is a bit difficult to apply all the different laws to that small entity. So every time we cannot take that small entity which is having infinite size, sorry, infinite, finite mass and very finite size. Such a point mass we cannot take every time to study all the objects which are around us. Okay. For that, I have already told you some assumption we will make there. What was that? So if any object which is in motion, suppose I am considering one object over here. So, so I am considering some object over here. Now, so this object, as it is looking bigger, so point object means it should be very smaller than this point, and it should have certain mass also. So we cannot deal with these things every time. Suppose if we have this object, if I have to deal with this, if I have to apply all the theorems, so what we have to do? If this object is in motion, if it is traveling very long distance, like from this end to this end, if it is traveling this much long, if it is traveling the same object whichever I have considered here. So if that object, whatever object I have considered over here, this object, if it travels very long distance means long as compared to its size. Its size is this much. As compared to its size, this distance traveled by it is large. Then, if the distance traveled by the object, if it is large, such an object can be treated as a point object. Okay, or point mass. Point mass is what? Any object which is having certain mass as compared to its size when it is in motion. If it distance traveled by the object, if it is very large as compared to size of the object, then such an object can be considered as a point mass or point object. Okay, so that is how we treat point mass or point object for those point masses, and we will be applying it. We will be applying whatever laws we have. And so in this, object with zero dimensions generally will be considered as point mass. Here it is not zero dimensions, but as compared to its size, the distance traveled is very large. That's the reason I am considering this as a point mass. Generally, how we take? Generally, if it is having zero dimensions, no, we cannot specify any direction to that, means such an object can be considered as point mass. And it is just a mathematical concept only. To solve different kinds of problems, we will be making this kind of object with a large distance traveled can be taken as a point mass. Okay, so whatever we speak in this chapter, all those are point masses only. Okay, for point masses only we can apply whatever Newton's laws we are going to study, right? So that is about point mass. Next important thing, and very well known thing to you, I will write over here, then it is known to you only, but still we have to discuss here. This is what our starting point is. What is that? Inertia. So inertia we have come across in school level, in class 9 itself we will come to know. So what does inertia means? Inertia means what? See, if any object, if it is lying there, it will lie there only. It will stay there. Okay. Or if any object, if it is in motion, it will try to possess that motion. So inertia is nothing but it is just a property. This thing should be remembered. Inertia is a property only. It is not a physical quantity. Whatever till now we have studied, distance, displacement, velocity, all those are physical quantities. We have to remember that inertia is not a physical quantity. It is just a property of some object. Okay, and make sure, and it does not have any unit. Inertia will not have unit. Inertia will not have dimensions. Okay, inertia will not have unit. It will not have dimensions also. Okay, no unit, no dimension. And suppose if there are two objects, suppose these two only if I consider. Okay, here whatever two objects we have, point mass is there, some smaller in size, and this is a little bigger in size, right? So when these two are moving, okay, moving or at rest, which is having more inertia means this will have more inertia. Okay, so as compared to this, it is, I am taking that this is having more mass. Suppose I have two objects, which are having two masses, and those two masses are equal. I have taken two objects. The object 1 and the object 2 are having same masses. If the two objects are having same masses, if they are moving, this is first one is moving with 2 meter per second, whereas the second one is moving with 15 meter per second. However they move, if we want to know the inertia, both will have same inertia only. We should not think that this is having more speed, it will have more inertia. Whichever is having, whatever speed it may be, we will look for only mass. Okay, so if it is having more mass means then it will be having more inertia, but we are saying that both are having equal mass. If both are having equal mass, however they move, they will have same inertia. Okay, so now what we learned here, if we want to find inertia, what we are finding mass. Okay, so just to know which is having more inertia property, we are going for mass. Mass gives inertia measurement. Okay, so sometimes they will be asking direct question, 2 marks question in intermediate also. What is measure of inertia? That means how do we measure inertia? If we want to measure inertia, we will be measuring mass only. Okay, we cannot measure inertia because it is not a physical quantity, it is just a property. To know this property, which one helps us? Mass helps us. So if we want to know about inertia, we need to know about mass. Whichever is having more mass, that will have more inertia. Okay, so mass is the measure of inertia. Okay, so we cannot measure inertia because the inertia is not a physical quantity. Okay, so that is about details, all detailed information about inertia. Okay, inertia is what? It is just a property of all the bodies, all the objects, so which cannot change their state of rest or state of motion. If it is at rest, it will try to be at rest only. If it is in motion, it will try to be in motion only. That property is called inertia. I am not speaking about if someone else stops it, what happens? I am not speaking about that. Okay, if it is moving means it will continue to move unless somebody is opposing it, and all, we will see that next. So just we are saying about property of inertia, right? Again, in inertia also we will be having properties. Okay, sorry, inertia also we will be having types, right? That is what we call inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and that we will see further. There again we will come to know about this property in the further topic. There we will be studying clearly about inertia types. Okay, so that is about inertia. Next, one more thing we have to define before going into Newton's laws, one more important physical quantity. So we will go with that. We have completed the basic property called inertia, and we are moving on to linear momentum. Linear momentum is denoted with a letter P. Okay, and it is a small p. Okay, so it is denoted by letter P. So what exactly this momentum means? Okay, so in till class 9, whatever we learnt about momentum is just we will say that momentum is a product of mass and velocity only. That's all. Mathematically only we will define. So what exactly momentum is? So it will quantitatively, it gives information about motion. Okay, suppose if any body is in motion, so linear momentum of the body is the quantity of motion that contained. How much quantity of motion it is contained, that will be given by linear momentum. Okay, so it describes about motion, how much quantity of motion it is contained. Okay, so that is easily it can be described based on linear momentum. Okay, and generally how do we measure it? Is general way of measurement is how much force is required to stop a body. Already we are saying that if any object is there, if it is in motion, how much quantity of motion it is consisting, that we are saying it as linear momentum, right? And when it is moving, how much force is required to stop this, how much force is required to stop the particular object which is in motion and in unit time. Okay, the force required to stop the object in unit time can be taken as measure of linear momentum. Okay, so what exactly this force and all we will come to know in detail next. Okay, so that is a physics way of explaining linear momentum in terms of its physical meaning. Okay, so linear momentum is what it explains about motion, how much quantity of motion it is consisting, that can be said with the help of linear momentum, right? It is indicated by letter P. Mathematically, if we speak, so what do we write? Momentum is equals to, mathematically, momentum momentum P is equals to, what do we write? This already known thing, mass into velocity, right? So as velocity is a vector quantity, if you want to represent this, so momentum is also a vector quantity, mass is a scalar. Now, so what do we write? Momentum vector is equals to mass into velocity vector will write. This is how we represent the momentum in general, right? And what about units? This is a physical quantity, right? So every physical quantity will have units as well as the dimensions. So if we write units, so what is unit? Mass unit is kg, okay, and velocity unit is meter per second, right? This is SI unit, right? So SI unit is kg meter per second, and we will write CGS unit also. CGS unit is what? Gram centimeter per second. Okay, so both the units I am mentioning here. So whatever system we use for units, the dimensional formula will be same. So what is the dimensional formula? Mass dimensional formula is m. Okay, and so here velocity is meter per second. That means length by time. M L T to the power of minus 1 is its dimensional formula. So dimensional formula of momentum is mlt to the power of minus 1. These are units of momentum, right? Now, little more information I'll give. If two objects are there, both are having same momentum. Two objects, m1 and its velocity is v1. So then what happens to its momentum? m1 v1. And other object is having mass m2 and its velocity is v2. Okay, but what I am saying here, both are having same momentum. I am saying that means m1 v1 is equals to m2 v2. So p became equal for both of them, right? Now, so if m1 v1 is equals to m2 v2 and p is becoming equal for both of them, so what does it mean? M1 v1 is equals to m2 v2. That means the variance is there in mass and velocity in both of them. It means suppose in the first object if mass is less, second object mass will be more. Okay, so in that way it will be balanced out. Now, so what we can say from this, m1 v1 is equals to m2 v2, both are same. That means we can write it as constant. So from there we can write mv is equals to constant, we can write. Okay, just I am writing from whatever we have there. Now mv is equals to constant. What we can write from here? Velocity is inversely proportional to mass, or mass is inversely proportional to velocity, we can write. Okay, now, so velocity is inversely proportional to mass here, right? So what happens if mass increases? What happens to velocity? Velocity decreases, it means. So when this condition is valid, when momentum is constant for some object. So if I take a graph for this, so how do we get a graph? We will try to observe the graph of mass and velocity when momentum is constant. Okay, now in this, so what is happening? Mass, if mass increases, velocity decreases, right? So this is how the graph looks. Okay, so here I am considering mass and here I am considering velocity. So as mass is increasing, so velocity what happens? Decreases. Okay, so as mass is increasing, velocity is decreasing, right? So if mass decreases, velocity increases. That is what here, when, what is the condition? P is constant. Under this condition, when two objects, when, if we take varying condition, if we take variable condition in case of mass and velocity when momentum is constant, so this is how the relation between mass and velocity. Suppose if if uh, mass is constant, what we can write from here? From this expression we can write, if mass is constant, this momentum is directly proportional to velocity, we can write. If velocity is constant, momentum is directly proportional to mass, we can write. Okay, So that means these are directly proportional. If we plot a graph for them, so we will get a straight line. Okay, that means what does it mean? See, if this is a graph, so one side I am taking momentum, one side I am taking mass or velocity. Okay, both I am representing in one single graph only. Actually, two graphs we have to represent. How it will be? It will be straight line passing through origin, right? It will be straight line. Now, so as mass increases, momentum also increases. So why? Because here, according to this, only it is depending on mass only. Velocity remained constant, I said, right? So that is complete information about linear momentum. So linear momentum is what? Mathematically, it's mass into velocity, and its unit is kg meter per second, CGS unit is gram centimeter per second. And the dimensional formula is MLT to the power of -1. This already we have seen how do we write dimensional formulas in units and measurement chapter, right? So it's a little in detail we are going. So what is that? If two objects are there, they are having different masses and different velocities, but if they maintain constant momentum, okay? So in such a case, mass and velocity will be inversely proportional to each other. If we plot a graph for this, it looks like this. Okay, instead of that, if mass is constant for an object, so what happens if it is changing its velocity continuously? Then the momentum will be depending purely on velocity only. Other than that, if velocity remains constant, if the object is moving with constant velocity, but its mass is continuously changing, then in such a case, what happens? Momentum will depend purely on mass only. For such a condition, if we plot a graph, it will be straight line passing through origin, right? So that is about in detail about linear momentum. So we have completed inertia and linear momentum. We can go with the Newton's laws now, right? Now we will go with Newton's laws. In Newton's laws, so we will be having three laws. Other names also will be there for this. So other name of Newton's first law is law of inertia. Okay, so other name of Newton's first law is the law of inertia. In that, so that means already we have learned about what is mean by inertia. So here that inertia property will be discussed here again. Law of inertia. Now, so inertia is what? Roughly, in rough sense also I said what is mean by inertia. So what is that? I compared with laziness, right? Now, so more the mass, higher the inertia, right? Now, as I told you that types of inertia also will be there, that we will be discussing here in Newton's first law. We will be discussing that. Okay. Now, what does Newton first law describes? So from the other name we can say it will be explaining about inertia only, right? Now, suppose if there is an object, if there is an object and it is suppose it is lying there, it is lying there only. Now what happens? It will try to continue at the same position. This object is there. So what happens? It is having certain mass m. Okay. So the object which is considered, which I have taken in example, so it is having some mass m. So what is happening? This object which is having mass m, if it is at rest, it will try to, or it will continue to be at rest only. If not, if it is in uniform motion, that means when velocity is constant, under that condition I'm taking. So if it is in uniform motion, so it will continue to be in uniform motion only. So that inertia property can be is explained in first law. If any object, if it is at rest, it will try to, or it will continue to be at rest, or if it is in motion, in a along a straight line, it will continue to be in motion, uniform motion, unless, condition is what? Unless some external force acting on it. Suppose if it is at some rest position, if some external force acts on it, what happens? Automatically it changes its position. Unless some external force acts on it, the object will lie at the same position. Unless some external force acts on it, if it is in motion, it will continue to be in motion only. That is what Newton's first law explains about. That's the involving property of inertia. That's the reason we are calling it as law of inertia also. Okay. So that is about Newton's first law. If any object or if any body continue to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless some external force acting on it, right? If no external force acts, what happens? It will stay there, right? So what happens to velocity of the body if no external force acts on it? So it cannot accelerate, right? So velocity is uniform motion. I'm saying if no external force acts on it, so it will move with constant velocity, so it will not accelerate. Okay, so Newton's first law, it defines inertia correctly, and also there are three types of inertias will be there. There are three types of inertias are there, and first one first one is what? Inertia of rest. Inertia of rest, what does it means? If any object, if it is at rest, it will continue to be at rest only. Such a property of the object when it is at rest, such property we are calling it as inertia of rest. So in class 10, we might have seen some example like a glass and a coin is taken on some paper which is placed on the glass. When we pull that, when we pull that paper suddenly, what happens? The coin will drop into that glass. So initially the coin was on the paper and it was at rest. It will continue to be at the same position. That's the reason it will drop into the glass. So such property we call it as inertia of rest. We can have more example when we are playing caroms. Okay, if we hit the bottom coin in the total coins, so what happens? Stack of coins, we say. In the total stack of coins, so if we hit the bottom coin, only the bottom coin will move off, and the remaining coins will be falling off suddenly, falling off into the same position, right? So that property we are calling it as a inertia of rest. Okay, so it will try to possess the same position. Okay, if any body, if it is trying to possess same initial position, so such a property we call it as inertia of rest. Next one is what? Inertia of motion will be there. Okay, so inertia of motion. Inertia of motion means what? uh, like if we are going in a bus, suddenly if the bus stops, what happens? We are trying to move forward, right? We are moving forward. So when we are moving forward, suddenly when bus stops, what happens? We will try to move forward only. Suddenly we may hit our next chair, next seat, we may hit our next seat. So that is due to inertia of motion. We were in a motion, we will try to be in motion only even though it is stopped suddenly. And another example also we can see, when fan is running, suddenly if we switch off, suddenly our power goes off, what happens? The fan, it will try to rotate for some time and then it will come back to rest. As soon as we switch off, it won't come back to rest, right? It will rotate for some extent, then it will stop. So why it is rotating even though we are switching off? The reason is due to inertia of motion. Initially it was in motion, even though we stopped it, so it will try to possess the same motion for some extent. Such property is called inertia of motion. And one more will be there, inertia of direction. Okay, so inertia of direction, what does it explains? Suppose if we are in one particular direction, when we are moving, if we are in one particular direction, suddenly the vehicle wherever we are in, if it takes one turn, if suppose if we are in a car and suddenly we have to take this turn, what happens? We will try to move this side, because initially we were moving in this particular direction, as suddenly when it is moving left, and we will try to possess the same position and we will come back to this side, right? So what is playing here? Which inertia? Inertia due to direction. We were in this particular direction, even though the total body is moving in, suddenly moving into other direction, we will try to possess the same direction. That's the reason we will be falling into this side. Okay, so that is all about in types of inertia, right? Now we can have so many examples for this. Okay, I will give you some I will give you some other examples in the notes also, right? So that is about Newton's first law. First law completely describes about a property called inertia only, right? Now, still we can have more things. Some derivation parts will be there that we will see. We will try to derive this Newton's first law by using Newton's second law when we go into Newton's second law. Right. So Newton's first law other name is law of inertia. Newton's second law other name is law of force. Okay. So law of force, that means we will be describing about force in this law of force. Okay. Now, in this. So here we are going to explain about the force concept in this. So there is a statement for this statement I will tell, then I will go with the derivative part of it. Right. So law of force. When we are saying about law of force, here the rate of change of linear momentum, the rate of change of linear momentum gives the amount of force acting on the body. That means, suppose if any object, if it is in motion, the object is in motion. So that motion, quantity of motion will give us a linear momentum. How the linear momentum is changing with respect to time, that will be given by force. Okay, what is the force acted on it? That force can be taken with the help of the rate of change of moment. Okay, now, so if we write an expression for it, suppose this object is there, it is having a mass m and velocity v. Okay, so if the object is having mass m and velocity v, then then so its momentum can be written as m into v. M into v is what? P. So we are saying rate of change of momentum. I am writing in terms of differential form only. Generally, rate of change of momentum means what? Delta P is change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is delta T we will write, right? So delta P by delta T we will write. This is the rate of change of moment. Whenever we use the word rate, T we will come in the denominator. Rate means what? With respect to time, we are saying how this is changed. So I am saying I will be using differential form, rate of change of momentum. That means dP by dt. What is this? Force acting on the object which is in motion is directly proportional to rate of change of linear momentum. Okay. So this is a Newton's second law statement. So what is that? I will write statement also. The rate of change of momentum. The rate of change of linear momentum. Rate of change of linear momentum of a body is directly proportional to is directly proportional to directly proportional to the external force applied on it, right? The external force applied on it. Okay. So this is a Newton's second law statement, and this is a statement mathematically, right? Now, if we remove proportionality, what do we get? So whenever we remove proportionality, we will put some constant, right? Constant into dp by dt will write. Okay. Now, so what is that constant? Constant I'm taking it as some k into dp by dt. This is force, right? Now, and here k I am considering the value of k I am taking it as 1 in a CGS system or SI unit. So whatever it is, k I am considering it as a 1. Let I'll take down only so that I can write that. Let k is equals to 1. Constant I am considering it as 1. Now what happens? F is equals to dp by dt it will become, right? So F is equals to dp by dt. So what we have? P. P is what? P is equals to, we have mv, right? Now, so that if I use P is equals to mv if I use, so what do we get? P is equals to mv if I use, F is equals to d by dt of m v bar we can write. Okay, I am writing in vector form itself. Okay, now so here if I write vector form, here also I have to mention vector form. F bar is equals to d by dt of mv. Now, so d by dt of mv. In differentiation, if constant is there, that can be pulled out. We have seen previously also d by dt of v bar. Where we have seen differentiation? When we are deriving equations of motion by using differential calculus, there we have seen. Okay. Now, d by dt of v. So, rate of change of velocity is acceleration. I said there itself in equations of motion. M into k bar we will have. Okay. Rate of change of velocity. Okay. This is as per definition. Now, F is equals to what we have? Mass into acceleration. Right. So, this is the formula we use in almost in most of the times in this chapter or further also. Okay. So, this is from Newton's second law. Force is what? Mass into acceleration. Or you can use this also. Rate of change of momentum is a force. Anyhow, the constant value we have taken 1. So F can also be written as what? dp by dt. Okay. Or you can write, if you want to write in the general terms, instead of differentiation, you can write it delta p by delta t also. We can write. Okay. These two formulas we can use whenever they ask about the force. From Newton's second law, force means these two expressions, right? So force we have come across. Now, what about unit of force? What about unit of force? Force is a physical quantity. So what is the unit of it? If we write for unit, so we got one formula based on that we can write. Mass unit is what? Kg. And acceleration unit is what? Meter per second square. Velocity is meter per second. Acceleration is meter per second square, right? So this is SI system. Now, so this kg meter per second square only, it is based on scientist who gave this complete theory. That is based on Newton. On the honor of Newton, we are taking it as a 1 kg meter per second square. If it is there, we will take it as a 1 Newton. Okay. So when we are writing units, scientist name when it comes, capital letter we have to write when we are using symbol. Or if you want to write a complete name, we have to write like this. Okay. So either this or this. Instead of kg meter per second, directly we can use it. This is what SI system, right? Now, what about CGS system? In CGS system, what do we represent? In CGS system, gram centimeter per second square we will be using, right? So this gram centimeter per second square, this we will take in name as a dyne. Okay. Now, so either we can use Newton in SI system or dynes in CGS system. There is a conversion between Newtons to dynes also. So 1 Newton is equals to 10 to the power of 5 dynes we will write. Okay. So better I'll write that also here itself, then you can continue. So what is that? 1 Newton can be written as 1 Newton can be written as 1 Newton is equals to 10 to the power of 5 dynes. How this has come means we can verify this by using the dimensional analysis. By using dimensional analysis, we can do this. Already we have done some problems so in units and measurement chapter. By using these two formulas, we can derive this. Right? So that is the complete information about force, how we get it from Newton's second law. So there are some different kinds of forces will be there that we can discuss here.